Уважаемые коллеги, я думаю, что в целях экономии времени мы можем постепенно начать, потому что
Dear colleagues, to save time, we can begin. Before voting, we are going to make resume from our 3 sessions. And we are going to speak about them in order. How can I say it? The first and the most important one will be energy sector. So I give floor to Andrei Kolpakov. We had a very interesting session. We have looked at a wide spectrum of scenarios of possible development of the electrical energy and what is most important for all of us. We've been speaking about, and we're able to see a lot of specific numbers, which I would like to tell you about right now. First of all, there is an impression that nuclear energy sector will be and will continue to be the nucleus of low carbon part of the industry. So what have we been speaking about? Right now, the share of the nuclear power plant generation is 29% in Russia. Rosenergoatom looks at reaching 25% by 2045. In scenarios by Institute of Energy Studies, the share of nuclear generation by 2050 is diverse, but we can see that colleagues do expect the growth of this share, and the maximum value that I was able to see was 47%. Of course, we do have a lot of questions whether the industry will be able to provide such growth rates, but nevertheless, these crossing points, these numbers, you should remember. As for the renewable sources of energy, the colleagues from Hewell Company, those who deliver solar panels, by the middle of the century, they expect 30% share of renewable energy in the structure of capacities in Russia. In the Institute of Energy Studies scenario, maximum share that I was able to see is approximately 12%, but from total generation of electrical energy. We also have been discussing those niches which are available today for renewable generation, and it was justly said that for many companies of medium, small size, tariff electrical energy is more than 10 rubles, and of course, for them, it's interesting for them to see projects when they install their own renewable generation. This is an important topic which is going to develop in the future. But we have a question. What's going to be the scale of this demand from the side of the SMBs? What's going to be the rate of new growth points of the renewable generation? So we have to observe this carefully. What else was interesting is that according to the assessments, in large-scale development of renewable development, the price for electrical energy is going to grow above the inflation rates, which is an important limitation factor from the point of view of socio-economical policy side, that these fast growth rates of renewable energy generation in our country can hit those economical limitations. Perhaps these are key things that I wanted to discuss with you. Yes, dear colleagues, right now let's speak a couple of words about real sector. Just a second. Perhaps I would like to give you the final number that I forgot to tell you about, which is going to be important for us. The capex for nuclear generation facilities, $2,000 per kilowatt hour of installed capacity. We have to remember this number. This number is for Russian projects, which are built inside of Russia. That's why when we do modeling of energy system, we have to look at these numbers and not at average numbers of technology that we see as medium numbers in the world. Okay, several words about the real sector. First of all, we've been listening to a very interesting presentation that took most of those calculations which currently exist in our country about how the current climatic agenda influences potential of the development of the large business. And we would like to say that large business is the foundation of Russian economy. So large business sees both advantages and disadvantages in this situation. Of course, there are certain risks, but we would like to say that there are sectors of economy, there are directions of development where large business is ready and thinks it to be efficient to reduce their emissions and play an important role in general agenda of reduction of greenhouse emissions. Separately, an emphasis was made that practically all Russian raw material export has an average lower numbers of carbon capacity than similar products manufactured in EU or a number of other countries. And undoubtedly, one of the risks of transborder regulation of carbon, then we've heard some regional presentations, and honestly speaking, there was an example with Russian forestry industry, wood processing industry, and separate companies. They have an objective of carbon neutrality in the nearest future. And even in our economy, there are segments which have this objective in the foreseeable future. And of course, we've been assessing different aspects of trade, carbon trade, and risks and possibilities related to this particular fact. The common point here is that we are looking at the situation that all these processes of greenhouse emission reduction in our country should be on a voluntarily kind of a character. Business is ready to invest in these. Connection between capital investments and more intensive emission reduction is obvious. So this is the main consensus that we were able to reach. On one side, it consists of higher growth rates, more profits means more investments. Investments give more profits, and they also reduce the level of carbon capacity of our industry. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, the third parallel session was dedicated to our forests, forestry ecosystems, first of all, in the context of their role of absorption of greenhouse gases. Also, this session was very fruitful and interesting. Leading specialists have participated in it. What was stipulated and which pinpoints can be selected? Not only pinpoints, but first of all, speakers have been telling us that fortunately there was a significant shift from the point of view of our counting of our forests and their capabilities of absorption. There's a certain positive shift related to the completion of the forestry inventory. And there was a proposal of a new methodology of absorbing capacity of forests. Of course, we do have this positive trend in our country. However, it doesn't cancel the fact that there are significant questions which are, first of all, related with precision of this accounting of these forestry resources and their absorption capacities. This is related, first of all, with issues of fires. A new inventory system, as it was said, does not allow us to precisely define or fix the effect of these forest fires, how they negatively influence them, and their role in these climatic processes. Also, this is related to wood processing and wood cutting, and we have to move forward in this direction. And Natalia Vasilievna Blokina was speaking about the necessity of development of the forestry monitoring network in order to solve these objectives. An important question of the input of specific components of forest ecosystems into the absorption capacity of carbon and reduction of emission risks, because forests are not only absorbing but also emit. And we've paid a very serious attention to a number of speakers. Anna Anatolievna Romanovsky and Natalia Vasilievna and Andrei Nikolaevich Filipchuk, they've been speaking about the role of soils in preserving of carbon depositing compared to forest itself. Their input is much more significant, especially in the specific ecosystem as boreal ecosystem. And of course, we've been speaking that it is necessary to be more precise in calculating this input, because unfortunately that statistic information and statistics that is available today is not completely making us happy. And as we figured out, our colleagues are not really happy. And Dirk was speaking about it because we want to put into our models more precise calculations. But unfortunately, we don't have this data as of yet. And this is related with the issues of accounting that I've been speaking about previously, and certain uncertainties which exist in the side of our regulators, which particular forest projects, which legal frameworks will be adopted, and how this will influence all the situation. I think that the most important key points have been discussed, and new proposals were made, and there was a desire to continue working on this together, which is the most important, because we have to integrate our efforts and improve our models, our assessments and forecasts. Thank you very much.